We welcome to the Osaka School of International Public Policy at Osaka University, Professor Owen Sichone. Professor Owen Sichone is the director of the Hammarskjöld Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies at the Copperbelt University in Zambia. Zambia, compared to most African countries, has had peaceful transitions. In your own opinion, what do you think are the strength for these peaceful transitions?
Well, there are a number of possibilities. If we start from the problem that other countries have, which is highly polarized societies, and a winner-take-all attitude to power as well as wealth, then we probably haven't ever experienced that. There was, to a great extent, a lot of unity across ethnic, religious, and other boundaries against colonial rule. And there was a similar unity within the trade union movement, for example. So people have a history of cooperating. However, when it comes to the behavior of the politicians competing for power, there are some dangers there of wanting to concentrate power in one person's hands, which is how we ended up with President Kaunda for over 27 years, and also concentrating power in one party. So, although we've had two major regime changes, you can see that for a long time we have a one-party dominant situation between those intervals. And also you can see that the new party always involves members from the previous regime, which might be good for continuity. But it also gives the impression that our politicians are not really committed to any grand idea, whether it's about democracy or about the development of the country. Rather, they've fallen into the game where winning power is the main thing.
Don't you think these party crossovers have been the main factor why opposition parties have been quite competitive in most of Zambia's elections?
You could say that, but as I said, there are long intervals between those regime changes. So for a party to rise from the bottom, from the opposition to come and replace the ruling party, does require drawing on the experience of those defectors, as it were. But it also requires the party to accumulate a lot of demerits in relation to the general population. In other words, you give them 20 years and they will make enough mistakes to deserve to be punished by the electorate. And I would think that President Kaunda would have lost power sometime after 1972, and that he brought in the one-party state because he could see the decline in his authority. The general public are quite patient. They do give the ruling parties adequate opportunity to show them what they can do. But once they read the signs that they are becoming too selfish, they are not paying attention to the general public's needs, price of food, price of fuel, those sorts of bread and butter questions, then they move towards getting them out of office.
Okay, so this is the main reason why opposition has been so competitive in Zambia. It's mainly from the general public's dissatisfaction, or there are other factors other than that?
Well, there are many other factors, including the ethnic one, the ethnic question. The ethnic question means in many countries, virtually all the competing parties have a regional character. They have an ethnic majority, and they even have a hostility towards other parties that that is expressed not in purely inter-party rivalries, but in inter-ethnic groups. So if I were to look at Kenya or even Zimbabwe next door, it's quite clear where the ethnic divisions go and how those are expressed in party membership terms. And not surprisingly, both those countries have had civil war situations because to a certain extent, ethnic politics lead you to view your neighbors not as rivals but as enemies, almost as if they are foreigners. They are not part of our group. And I think in Zambia that is a rare political position to adopt. So that may have saved us a lot. But also, to a greater extent, the experience of the urban community, to a certain extent the rural community as well, is that there is a lot of bridge building. There's a lot of sharing of religious or other values, and therefore having a very strong sense of belonging to something beyond the narrow confines of the province or the district or the ethnic group. So whether it's in a trade union or in a parent-teachers association, people are accustomed to seeing in leadership positions a variety of figures from different parts of the country. And so it's not really that dramatic when you have a minister or a president who is not of your group, because you see such examples everywhere. In the military, in the police, there is no homogeneity where you can say that institution is dominated only by one group, or that others are not allowed membership. If you go into that position, which some of our neighboring countries have, that's when you start getting really hot competition for office.
Okay. Other than the ethnicity, the regional groupings and characters, what do you think are the main weaknesses of Zambian democracy?
For me, the main weaknesses are those pertaining to institution building. That we have modern institutions such as parliament, such as the judiciary, and so on. And yet they are not entirely run according to bureaucratic principles, which you expect out of a modern institution. So the record keeping within political parties, very poor. They don't know how many members they have. They don't know who is a paid up member and who is not. And that's routine office work. If we can get that right, then even the running of elections won't be such a puzzle. Even for political scientists to be able to predict who might win, if they had that kind of record at their fingertips, either from the Central Statistics Office or even from the university researchers, it wouldn't be so difficult. Now, anybody who tries to predict the voting pattern will be accused of bias, partly because most of the opinion polls that we work with are very unscientific. And it all goes back to the same problem, that we have not put the right institutions in place for us to be able to look at the demographics and say, this province is that much wealthier than the other one. There's a whole lot of economic and other research to be done.
So how good credible is the Zambian electoral system?
As credible as any of the other institutions, but falling far short of the ideal. And in a way, this is inevitable. Democracy is never completely accomplished, whether it's in America or India. It's always a work in progress. So But what we do need to know is where do we fall short and where can we put our effort in correcting it. So generally, I would say education, 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 not just of the average citizen, but of the office bearers as well. And if those institutions can be run across the board along bureaucratic lines, in which case the ethnicity isn't important, the personality isn't important, it's the rules of the game, which are always written rules in a proper bureaucracy, then we can know when the rules have been broken and take the necessary action. And once we agree on those rules, a good constitution, then we will be on firm ground. But that doesn't mean it will be the end. We have to keep working to perfect the political system.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for